Welcome back to Football Daily. Here are 10 teams that scraped their way to some of football's most prestigious silverware. 10. Leicester City. Every newspaper loved the Leicester City title win of 2016, with the word fairy tale sprinkled all over the back pages. It was great to see Claudio Ranieri lift the trophy, but his tactical choices, master squads, deficiencies all over the park, as did sensational performances from Riyad Mahrez and N'Golo Kante. The Foxes benefited from all the league's big clubs having terrible seasons and were awarded 13 penalties in the league, 5 more than anyone else. Their final plus 32 goal difference is the joint worst in Premier League history, only equalled by Manchester United in 1997. And they proved their quality by following their wonder season with the worst start to a Premier League title defence ever, taking just 13 points from 14 games. 9. Porto. Okay, Mourinho fans, it was obviously an amazing achievement for the special one to win the Champions League with Porto back in 2004, but that doesn't mean the side was good. The world-class Deco and Vitor Bahia were forced to line up alongside Benny McCarthy and Jose Bosingwa, and the Dragons came second in their group to Real Madrid, losing 3-1 at home to the Galacticos. But the knockout stage played to Mourinho's strength as Porto dispatched Manchester United, Lyon and Deportivo La Coruña on their way to the Gelsenkirchen final. All good teams, but not the superstar-laden juggernauts of the Champions League today. In the showpiece match, they lined up against Monaco, and the sight of Gaël Javette and Sebastian Squillaci must have filled them with fear. Porto ran out 3-0 victors in a particularly boring game, and Mourinho jetted off to Chelsea with an ego big enough to block out the sun. 8. Montpellier 2012. You can't win the league with Olivier Giroud, Thierry Henry said in 2015. Well, tell that to Montpellier Thierry, who picked up a shock French title in 2012 with a man voted the most handsome in the Premier League leading the line. Giroud was top goalscorer with 21 goals, outstripping Eden Hazard and Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang, and added 9 assists. The squad included such stars as 35-year-old Hilton, Remy Cabella, Yang Mbiwa and Benjamin Stampouli, and Montpellier finished 3 points above Carlo Ancelotti's PSG, with a goal difference of just plus 34. The next year, Les Parisians romped to the title, winning by 12 points, whilst Montpellier slipped down to 9th. They've only averaged 11th place since. 7. Celtic. The Scottish Premier League has been absolute dog shit since Rangers was demoted, and in the 2015-16 season, Ronnie Dyler coached the boys to perhaps the most underwhelming championship. Celtic won the league by 15 points with a goal difference of plus 62, the next best total being Hearts with plus 19. But for much of the season, the Hoops were fighting off Aberdeen, a club with the stadium seating of just 20,000. Meanwhile, in Europe, Celtic scraped through the Champions League qualifying ties against Iceland's Stjarnan and Karabag from Azerbaijan, before exiting at the hands of Malmo. They subsequently finished bottom of their Europa League group, and coach Ronnie Dyler was given his marching orders at the end of the season. 6. Portugal. Euro 2016 was pretty boring. Germany and Spain underperformed. Belgium were a mess. And France somehow couldn't create a functioning midfield out of several of the world's best midfielders. But how Portugal won is totally beyond us. With a talented young squad, Portugal were considered contenders for the 2020 edition, and despite dominant performances against Iceland and Austria in the group stage, only managed 3 draws, scraping through as one of the best third-place teams. Next came an extra time smash and grab against exciting Croatia, a shootout victory over Poland, before a Ramsey-less Wales limply stood aside in the semis. Cristiano Ronaldo's injury meant he couldn't even see out the final, and it fell to Eder to win a major international tournament. At the end of the competition, Portugal won only 1 game in 90 minutes, drawing the rest. So if cup games earn points like league fixtures, Portugal would have gained just 1.29 points a game, the lowest number for any winning side in the history of international football. 5. Hellas Verona. In Italy until 1994, a league win was only worth 2 points, and that meant all kinds of weird things happened. Big teams couldn't pull away from the pack no matter how much they won, and middling sides, which saw rivals get unlucky, could end up in strange places, like Hellas Verona. And somehow, they won the Serie A in 1985. Milan had only just returned to the top flight from Serie B. Michel Platini's Juventus won the European Cup, but could only finish 5th, while Diego Maradona's first season at Napoli had yielded a disappointing 8th place. With all the superpowers underperforming, Verona and Torino duked it out for the honours, and with just 2 losses in their 30 games, Verona came out on top, taking home the only trophy in their history. Verona won the league with just 43 points, while their top scorer, Giuseppe Galdaresi, netted a measly 11 goals. 5 years later, Verona dropped down to Serie B, where they are today. The miracle of '85 remains the greatest achievement in their history. 4. Inter Milan. Not even 5,000 to 1 shot Leicester City can claim that their championship win was as unexpected as our next entry. In 2006, Inter Milan had a very good squad, featuring Cambiasso, Figo, Zanetti and a young Leonardo Bonucci, but only managed a middling season, finishing 3rd in Serie A behind Milan and champions Juventus. But the Calciopoli scandal broke at the end of the season, with multiple Italian teams found to have colluded with refereeing associations to fix matches. The Italian FA had no choice but to impose severe penalties. Juve dropped from 1st to 20th, while Milan were docked 30 points, dropping down to 3rd. With their 2 rivals gone, Inter became champions, while Chievo were almost as lucky, jumping from 7th to 4th, and into the Champions League. The Nerazzurri went on to win the next 4 campaigns, but given that they finished 12 points behind Milan and 15 behind Juventus, they can count themselves a little bit lucky. 3. Denmark. Back in 1992, Denmark had the core of an impressive squad. Brian Laudrup and Peter Schmeichel were the standouts, while Michael Laudrup, a superstar at the time, having retired from international duty after a poor start to the qualification for Euros 1992. Laudrup wasn't wrong to quit. Denmark failed to qualify from a group containing Northern Ireland and the Faroe Islands, losing out on the top spot to Yugoslavia. But with just 10 days to the Euros, Yugoslavia was barred from entering the competition, with war having broke out in their country. Denmark took their place and made it out of their group, knocking out France and England. Holders the Netherlands came next, but after a 2-2 draw, Schmeichel saved Van Basten's penalty in the shootout, and the Danes were in the final. World Cup winners Germany stood between them and the trophy, but 90 minutes and 2 goals later, Denmark were European champions. They shouldn't have even been there. 2. Chelsea. Andre Villas-Boas was Chelsea's attempt to recapture the magic of Jose Mourinho, appointing the Porto boss in the summer of 2011. The Portuguese had completed an unbeaten season in his homeland, but made huge changes in London, ditching the old guard and soon having mutiny on his hands. He was fired in March. Club hero Roberto Di Matteo took over, with the Blues 3-1 down after their first leg against Napoli. They turned it around with a shock 4-1 win, somehow pulled off a victory over Barcelona, and then won the competition in Munich against Bayern, thanks to a sensational performance from Petr Cech in the penalty shootout. Chelsea also won the FA Cup, but in the league it was a different story, as they tumbled down to 6th, below Alan Pardew's Newcastle. Impressive. 1. Greece. Some of our viewers, including myself, are too young to remember Euro 2004, but don't worry, you've literally missed nothing. The tournament was legendarily shit, with eventual winners Greece, perhaps the most boring team ever to get their hands on the silverware. Played in Portugal, the opening game of the competition saw the hosts take on the Greeks, only to lose unexpectedly in a 2-1 shock. Greece then drew with Spain and lost to Russia, but made it to the knockout stage, and their German coach decided to shut up shop. First they beat the France side of Thuram, Makelele, Zidane, Pires and Henry. Then a Czech Republic team boasting Poborski, Rosicky and Nedved. In the final, once again they played Portugal and again ran out winners, thanks to Caristea's strike. Figo, Ronaldo, Rui Costa and co were stunned. Greece had not conceded in all 3 knockout rounds, and Reichhall became a national hero, with banners declaring God is German. It was boring though. So they were our 10 worst title-winning teams, and if you've got any, why don't you let us know in the comments below? And if you've enjoyed this, why don't you check out Stat Wars? And as ever guys, don't forget to like and subscribe.